So way back when Disney announced that they were going to turn The Little Mermaid into live action, everyone said, really? Why? That's because, let's face it, these live-action remakes have been
one big pile.
Then they announced that they were going to make subtle changes that no one would ever notice to the movie, and people said, why? That's dumb. And then other people said that those people were racist.
You are a racist, man! You are a racist!
And then those people who were called racist said that those people calling them racist were woke idiots.
I fart in your general direction!
And then both sides started yelling at each other, and that's where we are now. So with me being a fair-minded individual, I decided to go see the movie myself and judge it on its own merit. So after 2 hours and 15 minutes of parents wondering why a 38-year-old man is sitting alone in the back row of a movie that's made for children, here's my honest, totally unbiased take of The Little Mermaid 2023. First of all, I'll start with what I like. Out of the gate, Halle Bailey does a fine job as Ariel. She has a great voice. I know that she's a singer. I don't recognize her from anything else other than this. But for what she's given to do in this movie, she does a perfectly fine job. And now for the rest of it. I heard Jeremy Johns mention in his review that this movie doesn't have one big problem, just a bunch of small problems that kind of add up as the movie goes on. First, I'll start with the most obvious issue, and that's the underwater special effects. The effects run the gamut from, hey, that looks pretty good, to, oh my god, that's embarrassing. And that range shifts from shot to shot. It becomes so distracting that I found myself saying, hey, that looks good. Oh, that looks bad. For most of those underwater parts, rather than being able to concentrate on the movie.
Ooh, that's bad.
And those issues don't stop under the sea. The outside locations look like sets from a low-budget play. Everything has a very flat look to it, like it was shot on a soap opera set. Also, there are parts of the movie that are very dark, not necessarily so dark that I can't make out what's happening, but certainly darker than you would want for a visual medium like a movie.
Why is it so dark in here? Let some sunlight in. Ain't that better?
Another problem, and really a problem that all these movies have when trying to make them live action, are the character designs of animals. Now, I'm not one of these people that says Sebastian looks scary or anything. I'm not an idiot, but I just want you to compare these two scenes. They're both saying the same dialogue, but to you, which one is more visually interesting and engaging? A way for a character to sell what they're saying is with facial expression. When you have a character that's incapable of expression, it makes lines feel like they're being said off screen, like they're part of a narration. It doesn't feel like it's coming from the character itself. Another example of this is Flounder. He's voiced by Jacob Tremblay, who actually does a good job with the voice, but the character on screen does not look good at all. Again, compare the two, and which do you find more visually interesting? And this lack of visual interest spills over into the movie a lot, most notably with the Under the Sea musical number. Again, I'll let you compare and contrast these two images and let you decide which one works for you the best. With the old one, you've literally got an entire band made up of sea life. That's just a lot more interesting in my opinion. Really, this flaw comes from this idea of trying to make these fairy tales realistic. I mean, we're literally watching a movie about mermaids, so realism should be the last thing that they're trying to convey with this movie. But it is what it is, I guess. Thirdly, the acting in this is pretty bad. With the exception of Halle Bailey, who I said I thought did fine, most of everyone in this movie is pretty stiff. Even Javier Bardem, who is typically great at what he does, is having a hard time looking like he wants to be in this movie. The guy playing Eric, I forget his name, really isn't doing much for me in this either. He's not bad necessarily, but not memorable in any way. I was just kind of bored when he was on screen. But the most atrocious person in this movie is Melissa McCarthy as Ursula. Now, in the original, Ursula was sassy, she was mean, she was intriguing, all of the elements that make a really great villain. And of course, we all know that Pat Carroll could really belt out the song Poor Unfortunate Souls. Melissa McCarthy is doing some sort of Katharine Hepburn / Liz Taylor thing with her voice. And kids, if you don't know who that is, just find a Ouija board and summon your dead great-grandparents, and they'll tell you who they are. Anyway, with her, I was just waiting for her to be off camera, just proving again that the best thing she's ever done is be Jenny McCarthy's cousin. There are some other changes that are minor, but don't really add or subtract from the movie, so I don't know why they bothered making those changes in the first place. And then there's one big change that, when you think about it, really should affect the way a certain character feels about another character. I won't get into it, but I'll just say it's toward the ending. And that's really all I can say about the movie without feeling like I'm just complaining for the sake of complaining. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what a 38-year-old man thinks. It's what kids think. So, will kids like this movie? Sure, I guess. The kids in my theater started walking around halfway through the movie rather than watching it, and maybe those kids just had small attention spans. I don't know. But I really think people underestimate the power of animation when it comes to holding the attention of kids. I kind of feel like when they see live action, to them that says it's an adult movie, so they tend to check out pretty quick. But that's just a theory I have. I can't prove it or anything. The biggest issue that this movie is going to have is that it's just not as iconic as the 1989 version. If you look at all the live action remakes of the past, they seem to just come and go pretty quickly. I mean, Peter and Wendy came out less than a month ago, and nobody gives a crap about that anymore. And when you think about all the other classic Disney movies, do the live action remakes even cross your mind at all? I mean, when you think of Beauty and the Beast, which one do you think about? How about Aladdin? Or how about The Lion King? I mean, all of those movies were considered the golden era of Disney for a reason. And if Disney's going to keep remaking these movies, which I'm sure they will, they really need to start stepping it up. Because if you're just going to make a movie that's destined to go out with a whimper, then what's the point of making it at all? Anyway, that's all for this one, guys. Have you seen The Little Mermaid? Leave a comment below, let me know. Also, I'd appreciate a subscribe and a like. Please do all that, and I'll love you forever. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you next time. Bye.